Katabatash. Hello, my name is Hebe Tatitsi Lee. I am Niantic and Narragansett and Shinnecock of the Northeast Algonquin people. We're known as the people of the rising sun because we live here on the coastal edge. We're indigenous to the coastal edge. I am an artist of traditional and classical skills and studies. My traditional skills were taught first by my mother, Deani Lee Lookscrow, and her skills were passed down to her from her parents and her people. Her parents and people taught her the traditional skills of native art with wampum carving, finger weaving, and beadwork, and some quill work as well, because quill work is what beadwork derived from. Quill work has transitioned from colonial contact to beadwork with glass beads. My mother had taught me simple projects involving different materials, because she noticed and was aware that I had a curiosity with working with materials, applying those materials to everyday aesthetics. So in return, she taught me simple projects dealing with beads, and as the projects progressed, she taught me applique beadwork as well as wampum carving. With that, I had following mentors such as the well-renowned and renowned Nancy Brown Garcia of the Narragansett tribe, as well as Venus Reels and her daughter Yolanda Reels. And we will always have these artist talks on traditional art as well as modern art as native artists with very array of talents when it comes to art, with drawing and painting and beadwork. Now, my classical studies derived from me going to school. I attended CCRI for art, and I graduated and I went into URI for art history and for art history and business management. I wanted to understand classical work and have academic skill setting for my creativity. I just wanted a better understanding of the philosophy of art and its classical studies, and where classical art derived from, its transitions, and also non-classical work from around the world, how art has these relations with culture, aesthetic, and artists of itself. Now, my traditional skills, like I said, applied with glass beads. I use traditional materials such as buckskin that is tanned by local tribal members that I have connections with that tan buckskin, and I either have those materials as well as trade materials like horsehair, deer fibers, as well as with finger weaving, dog bane, and selected hemp materials. Now, the hemp and dog bane I use with my wampum weaving. This is considered a wampum belt, and this pattern is the whirlwind pattern, and these are made with glass beads, and these are done on the loom. And the foundation of this piece to keep these beads together, is dog bane, which is braided fibers plant fibers. And these are what is considered the bias weave stitch. This is a form of finger weaving. A lot of times, if you've seen probably Algonquin style finger weaving with selected materials such as dogbane as well as selections of hemp. And this is another example of finger weaving with glass beads that were done with wampum beads. Now here is a example of wampum beads done with finger weaving. This is a little bit more smaller, and these are wampum beads along with mussels, and you can see the intricate work of the wampum with the mussels, and also the foundation to keep those pieces together is dogbane with plant fibers. And these are traditional moccasins. These moccasins are traditional floral patterns, and this is where that folk art, this is what you can jokingly say true Americana with Native American art. And these are those floral patterns that are labeled with native beadwork as folk art. And as you can see, those glass beads that derive from those quill work designs. These glass beads replace those quill work designs. And here are those copper cones. Now, copper is traditional material to the Algonquin people. Now, the way copper is fashioned today is probably much different than how our ancestors fashioned copper. And here are another pair of moccasins. These are smoke tanned hide, and that buckskin is reversed, so you see more of that that natural suede texture material. But this floral pattern is the burdock flower, and this right here is the storytelling of the pollination process. So that's folk art visually and folk art with storytelling, because these bead patterns and designs derive from storytelling from our ancestors and our elders. And this is a traditional wampum, glass wampum piece, but those designs, these designs here are traditional, and you can see some of these designs in ancestral work with the with Algonquin people. Now this pattern right here, I've kind of made up myself, which represents the 4 directions. It can represent 4 directions of the environment. It can represent 4 directions of the elements. But this is a traditional piece. As you can see, here are those copper cones again to reflect the Algonquin people, because this was a natural staple and material of this location. Now here are some trade materials. This is horsehair. Horsehair is a trade material from the horse culture, and that's usually from the Sioux tribes or the Plains natives. And this represents a bond and friendship, because in order to have these trade materials mean that you have an alliance with a particular group of people, a friendship with an alliance. And now here are some traditional skills with a modern aesthetic. Now this is a beaded bow tie, but here are these beaded glass beads again, and this is considered an applique work. All the bead work that I've shown you before is considered applique. That technique is called an applique technique. And here is in the center is a bicentennial Indian head nickel, and that's just a play on American history and culture. And like I said before, a lot of Native American art and crafts have been labeled as folk art. Now, I try not to copy the work and art of my ancestors. I use it as a reference to move forward as myself as an artist, as well as to tell my story and my people's story, because our art reflect those folk art and storytellings to make visual, pretty much visual information and visual education. Thank you, RISCA, and thank you for the panel for allowing me to share my work and to share my stories to move forward as an individual artist myself, and also to move forward to tell these stories of my people of present day and the story of my ancestors, because this is where these skills had derived from. So thank you to Bootney, Kwamakwe, and may you all go in peace, and thank you, my friends.